Now, building your resume when you're a new market entrant can be quite daunting, but it is well worth the exercise. And there's a few sections of a resume that should not change, and they should go in this kind of verbiage or use this kind of verbiage, because applicant tracking systems are out there trying to ignore you or trying to screen you out. So your resume starts with your name, your title, and your contact information up front and center. That goes on everything, needless to say. The next section is your profile. Some individuals are taught by career departments or a little bit more sort of older school methodology to put an objective. Please don't do that. It screams junior, okay? You want a profile section, and that profile statement is the hardest thing you are ever going to write in your life, because it's about you, and who likes to do that, right? So I have a little formula for writing a profile. 3 sentences. The first sentence is what you're doing now, who you are now. I'm an entry-level, aspiring camera person, health practitioner, fill in the blank. The second sentence is what you've done in the past. Even if it's only been volunteer work or part-time, it doesn't matter. Craft some kind of statement about what you've done in the past. And then the third statement, if you've done your goals, you're ready for this one, you want to write about what you want in the future. So who you are, what you've done, and most importantly, what you want. Now, that first draft of your profile is going to be awful, trust me, okay? But it will grow and change along with you in your career. So just, when I say to students, when I start them in school programs, I just say to them, get that first draft down. I don't care how bad it is. You can fix it later, but you've got to sit down and draft that. And think about this. If you're going into any industry, you need to learn to create content. You're going to be creating content for your job the rest of your life. So why not get really good at creating content about yourself? The only way to get good with that is to practice it. So, throw it down on the page, let it sit, go back to it later, and adjust it over time. But have your profile, who you are now, what you've done in the past, and most importantly, what you want in the future. The next section of your resume addresses the hard and soft skills that you have. Hard skills are the craft that you are learning, and soft skills are the personality traits that you're bringing to the table. Hard skills are not only the craft, but the knowledge area that you're working in. Your knowledge area could be sciences, it could be finance, it could be HR, it could be media production, it could be anything. But you need to know that it is, in and of itself, a giant knowledge area. So once you know that, you can start learning about that area and being able to articulate it to others. So understanding that hard skills are communications, administration, processing, scheduling, manufacturing, these are all physically manifest as skills. Whereas soft skills are personality traits and the values that you bring to the workplace. So there's a real distinction between the two, but please don't make any mistake about this. Everyone thinks that hard skills are the holy grail. They are not. Soft skills are the holy grail that support the hard skills. So, and if worse comes to worse, just Google one or the other and see what they have to say about it, so you can inform yourself a little bit and start to understand the vocabulary around hard and soft skills, and then you will see which ones resonate with you. They are the hard and soft skills to add to your resume. Now, it's not just enough to add your hard skills and your soft skills. You should also be adding your technology skills and your technology platforms, okay? Every industry uses particular technology to that given industry. So, in our case for media, we work with Movie Magic, we work with Adobe Premiere, or whatever, platforms that we have to operate on, Google Docs and what have you. So Try to make a list of what platforms you are adept at and list them on your resume, because hiring managers are looking for, they want to know what platforms you can operate on. And last but not least, do not neglect to list your languages. Doesn't matter what language. As we move forward in this century, the borders are disappearing. International work is a little bit, novel right now in 2022, but 5 years from now, international work is going to be the norm. So whatever languages you can bring to the table are going to be worth their weight in gold for your career. Don't neglect to mention them. Next up on the resume is a list of your professional history, okay? You can call it work history, you can call it whatever you like, but applicant tracking systems are looking for either work or professional history, or work or professional experience. So use those titles and then list your professional experience, okay? Now, there might be some instances where you don't have any professional experience. That's always possible too. What you do there is you just go back into your past and you discover what it was that you were doing while you weren't getting professional experience. Describe what you were doing. I have a candidate who said to me, well, I've been on a work break for a year and it's going to look bad on my resume. And I said, well, what have you been doing in the last year? And he said, well, I got my real estate license. I said, boom, that's what goes on your resume. So whatever you're doing can be made to bring value to the equation. You just have to go through the mechanics of writing it down and figuring out how to represent it, whether you have experience or not. The next section of your resume should include your education and professional development. As a recruiter, when I will check a person's education, absolutely, but what I'm really looking for is professional development. And if there's no professional development listed on that resume, and I've got another candidate who's got a bevy of professional development listed on the resume, you know who I'm going to prefer. It's the better rounded individual who has more expertise in differing areas. That is a more rounded individual and therefore will be preferred in the workplace. Finally, on your resume, you should have a section for volunteer work. Now, I object, I really do, I object to the term volunteer experience because it's not reflective of what volunteer experience actually is. Volunteer experience, in my humble opinion, is public service. And there's nothing small about public service. But applicant tracking systems don't recognize, they haven't grown and evolved enough yet to understand what public service is. So if you got to go with volunteer, go with volunteer. But please do, and make sure that you list, and I don't care what you've done in terms of volunteer experience. People have the perception that unpaid work is not as valued as paid work, not as far as I'm concerned. I personally, in my life, I have worked harder at public service than I have at my profession, and I've got my subject matter expertise in my profession. So stack on those volunteer creds and use them to your advantage in your job search. When it comes to your resume, a lot of people they close out their resume with a short statement where references are available upon request. Personally, I feel that that is an extremely outdated practice and it needs to go because frankly, it's assumed that references will be available upon request. Now, that is not to be confused with your actual references. You can list your references on your resume, or you can list them on a separate sheet, or you can wait to be asked for them. If you put your references on your resume, that gives the employer the opportunity to look you up without your permission. You're giving them permission to look you up. And when they do that, they may find a way to screen you out. So I would prefer that you offer up your references more at the interview stage when they're looking for them. But using the statement references available upon request at the end of your resume, I would use that space for other more important stuff, shall we say.